Speech and drama, grade 4. First, I'll be performing an excerpt from The Merchant of Venice. To bait fish withal. If it will feed nothing else, it will feed my revenge. He had disgraced me and hindered me 500,000. Laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains, scorned my nation, thwarted my bargains, cooled my friends, hated my enemies. And what's his reason? I am a Jew. Had not a Jew eyes? Had not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions? Fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer. A Christian is. If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we shall resemble you in that. If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? Revenge. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be by Christian example? Why? Revenge. The villainy you teach me, I will execute. And it shall go hard, but I shall better the instructions. Now, I shall perform an excerpt from the Trials of Polo, the Hidden Oracle. I had not been stomped so badly since my guitar contest against Chuck Berry in 1957. As Cade and Mikey kicked me, I curled into a ball trying to protect my ribs and head. The pain was intolerable. I retched and shuddered, blacked out, and came to my vision swimming with red splotches. When my attackers got tired of kicking me, they hit me over the head with a bag of garbage, which burst and covered me in coffee grounds and moldy fruit peels. They finally stepped aside. Rough hands patted me down and took my wallet. "Looky here," said Cade. "Some cash and an ID for Lester Papadopoulos." Mikey laughed. "Lester? That's even worse than a Polo." I touched my nose, which felt roughly the size and texture of a waterbed mattress. My fingers came away glistening red. "Blood," I muttered. "That's not possible." "It's very possible," Kate crouched next to me. "And there might be more blood in your near future. Do you want to explain why you don't have a credit card or a phone? I'd hate to think I did all that stomping for $100. I stared at the blood on my fingertips. I was a god. I did not have blood. Even when I'd been turned mortal before, golden ichor still ran through my veins. I'd never been so converted. It must, it must be a mistake, a trick, something, some. I tried to sit up, but my hand slipped on a banana peel and I fell again. Finally, I'll be performing a poem by Harry Baker called The Dinosaur Love. I want to say I love you, but I feel it's not enough. Because when people say I love you, it can mean a lot of stuff. Like, I'll always have your back, or I'm glad I'm not alone. But to be honest, I'll say anything, so you'll hang up on the phone. Because I'm kind of in the middle of something right now, and these Doctor Who box sets aren't gonna watch themselves. I want to say I love you, but it seems it's not enough. Because when people say I love you, it can mean a lot of stuff. And all I'm really trying to say is, roar! I wanna love you like a T-Rex. With a tiny brain but a massive heart. And if I was a T-Rex, I could hold you in my T-Rex arms and protect you from harm. Because that is dinosaur love. It's the way you send spines down my spine like a stegosaurus. How, just like dinosaurs, no one cares what came before us. Because we've got that love so big it cannot be ignored. Like, when you're with a dinosaur, everything else seems secondary. Dinosaurs are not mythical creatures. They're legendary. Plus, just really cool. The thing with dinosaurs is they're kind of awesome. More than that, they actually existed. Yes, my love is real. I ain't talking blindly walking strings attached like Theseus. That's Minotaur love. Well, this is dinosaur love. This ain't no damsel in distress trapped princess dragon slaying quest. Cause one, dragons never happen. And two, most women don't need rescuing. Feminist dinosaurs. This is less prancing unicorns, more two-ton triceratops, or terrifying pterodactyls staring terror from above. It is dinosaur love. Molten rocket, meteoric. Trust me, I've got that love so old school it's prehistoric. So, if you're into Spielberg or hip-hop with a classic vibe, we could watch Jurassic Park or listen to Jurassic 5. And if you like a bone, I know a place where you could see him. I am a lifetime member of the Natural History Museum. I want to say I love you. But that might be awkward. So instead, I'm happy to let it stay in my head where it cannot go wrong. Because when my dino love dies out as you'd expect, when it's extinct, I'd rather that we remain friends than became exes. But somehow, against all odds, if my dino love proves so colossal that it stands the test of time perfectly preserved like a fossil, then one day, when you're left in ruins and need someone to excavate through them, it won't take an archaeological expert to point you towards me. And at that point, I shall point out that you are like a brachiosaurus, because there is no one above you. And I look you in the eye and say, roar! Thank you. Now for my next task, I'll be doing the reading of the story. It's called The Confessions of Arsène Lupin by Maurice Leblanc. It's a short excerpt from that. When the race was over, A crowd of people streaming towards the exit from the grandstand pushed against Nicholas. He brought his hand to the inside pocket of his jacket. "What's the matter?" asked his wife. I still feel nervous. With all that money on me, I'm afraid of some nasty incident. "How can you think of carrying such an amount with you?" she muttered. "Every penny we possess." "Nonsense," he said. "No one would guess that it's here, in my pocketbook." "So you say," she grumbled. "But that young manservant who we discharged last week knew all about it, didn't he, Gabriel?" "Yes, Aunt," said a boy standing beside her. Nicholas, his wife, and his nephew Gabriel were well-known figure at the races, where the regular frequenters saw them almost every day. Nicholas, a big red-faced man who looked as if he knew how to enjoy life. His wife, also built on heavy lines with a big vulgar face and always dressed in a plum-coloured worn-out silk. The nephew, quite young, slender, with pale features, dark eyes, and rather curly hair. As a rule, the couple remained seated throughout the afternoon. It was Gabriel who betted for his uncle, watching the horses in the paddock, picking up tips among the jockeys and stable lads, running backward and forward between the stands. Luck had favoured them that day, for 3 times. Nicholas's neighbours saw the boy come back and hand him money. And then, the luck changed. Finally, coming on to the reflection questions. So the first one as to how my performances went. I felt my performances went pretty well. The voice modulation was okay. I could feel my voice going in the middle, so I tried to keep my voice a little low when I was going slower in the suspenseful parts. And I think it came out okay. There were a few times when I was stuttering, but I tried to cover that up. I tried to improvise on it. And overall, in my opinion, the performances went well. The body language was good, the voice modulation was good, and the hand gestures also seemed not excessive but appropriate. Then choose one of your pieces and talk about how the characters or narrator's feelings changed. So I'd like to talk about the second piece I performed from the Trials of Polo. So in that case, Apollo, the sun god from Greek mythology, he's been converted into a mortal because he angered his father, and so in the starting he's just cribbing, right, and he's very scared for his life in the beginning. He's being caked, he's suffering, and you can see that he also mentions the pain is intolerable, and he's just in a very poor state. He's getting beaten up, of course, and he's feeling the pain at that point. But then in the middle, when we have that scene where he touches his nose and then he sees blood, you can see his emotions change to something more of disbelief, because even when the other two characters come up, one even mocks him that, "Do you not have a credit card or a phone?" He does not pay attention to that. He is more concentrated on the fact that he has blood. He's in so much disbelief. So there's this progression from feeling the pain, getting beat up, feeling sorry for himself, to this sense of disbelief that he's actually been converted and he's never been in this situation before. Okay, what did I consider to be the funniest or most dramatic moment in my pieces? And what vocal or physical skills did I use to show that to the audience? So this definitely has to be the first piece, Shylock's monologue, where he is asking for a pound of flesh, right? And the part where he lists out all the similarities between the Christians and Jews. In the end, he concludes, "Why should we be different?" I think that's probably the most dramatic part in all my pieces. And what I did was, so I noticed that in the monologue, he mixes up 2 types of dialogue. So there are more dark things and there are a few lighter, more similar things. So on the lighter side, here, "Do we not feel the same warmth and coolness from the weather, the summer and winter? But on the darker side, we have like, if you prick us, do we not bleed? If you poison us, do we not die? Which is a much darker shade. It's not like saying I'm feeling hot or warm. So in those darker, more impactful dialogues, I tried to deepen my voice and tried to hit it as hard as I could. And when it was on the lighter end, I tried to keep my voice higher and to show that contrast. Also, speed was a very big thing. So slowing down when he's saying an impactful dialogue, but speeding up when he's listing things, scorned my nation, thwarted my bargains. So fastening up there to hit those hard and slowing down to create the impact of the dialogue. So those will probably be the vocal skills that I use. As for the physical skills, I think the movement pointing directly towards the camera as if I'm blaming someone, and the direct gaze, that's probably the skills I used to create this dramatic atmosphere, and however hard hitting I could make it. And finally, how are my performances different from each other, and how did I show that to the audience? So the first piece was very dramatic. It's a very dramatic dialogue in that scene, and Shylock's definitely angry, so I'm trying to show that anger, and he's trying to compare both of them. And I did that, as I mentioned, first of all, by deepening my voice and hitting hard on those lists. The second piece is more about the god of the sun feeling pain and then shifting to a sense of disbelief. And this is just a more where you feel sorry. It's like a sadder scene. It's not dramatic, it's much sadder. So I tried to lower my voice, keep my pitch low. I tried to keep my volume a little low, and I slowed down considerably, trying to let my actions speak as much as I could. So rough hands patting me down, or be it the nose feeling like a waterbed, and all of those. So I tried to slow down as much as I could. It was very slowed out. Plus, I tried to let my actions speak for themselves and keep it as visually captivating as possible. And my last piece, the poem, is much lighter because it has some very clever wordplay in the middle. And it's a funnier poem. It's a lighter tone. It's laughable compared to the dramatic and sadder pieces. And I tried to accompany that with my tone. It was a very light voice. I tried to laugh in the middle wherever I could. I tried to make the funny pieces funny. I tried to keep my facial expressions in a way that they were engaging, and I modulated my voice during the dialogue portions of this poem to ensure that the audience was engaged and they could feel the funniness, and hopefully I succeeded in that. Thank you.